start recording here. Okay, so folks who are joining us on YouTube or recording or whatever, I have a pillow, a couch cushion that I'm sitting on, just anything to be squishy and make sitting a little bit easier. And then I have a yoga block. If you don't have a yoga block, grab something like this, like a big thick book. I've used like beer growlers, anything that's gonna have about this kind of size. Yeah. Use blocks to make our arms longer and the floor closer. I am gonna dig into a couple of cues and a couple of alignment things that I'm not sure if I've touched on recently enough, but there are things that we've been working on for a long time, those of us who have been doing this for many months. And we're going to get back into it. We're going to continue to apply these same principles to our movement over and over again, because we're not doing this practice to get really good at yoga. We're doing this practice to be a good humans. Like physically speaking, to take care of our bodies so that we're more mobile and adaptive, because then of course if we have this healed, healthy body, then we're free to have this healed, healthy mind. You know, like if you have the flu, you really don't care that much about, you know, all of the other ways in which you can benefit yourself. You just want to make sure that you've gotten rid of the flu, right? So I found this, I'll look it up in Shavasana and be able to credit this person. I didn't write it down, but I get this email newsletter called Brain Pickings, and it's really neat stuff, just kind of offering some words of famous artists and philosophers. And the person I will credit in a moment says this: in times of crisis, we summon up our strength. And then, if we are lucky, we are able to call every resource, every forgotten image that can leap to our quickening, every moment that can make us know our power. And this luck is more than it seems to be. It depends on the long preparation of the self to be used. In times of crisis of the spirit, we are aware of all of our needs. Our need for each other and our need for ourselves. We call up with all the strength of summoning that we have our fullness, and then we turn, for it is a turning that we have prepared, and act. We have these self-awareness practices, we have these breathing practices and these meditation practices, not so that we get to be good meditators and breathers, but so that we get to be good humans. All of these poses and postures and exercises, strengthening and stretching stuff that we do, not so that we're like really strong and bendy, but so that the body is at peace with itself, and then we can get a little bit deeper into ourselves. We're going to start with some face brushing. So take your index finger and your thumb together, the squishy spot at the bottom of your thumb, bring that to the center of your forehead and brush outwards towards your temples a few times. And then starting at the sides of your nose, brush out to your temples along your cheekbones. And tracing the jawline, going from the temples down to your chin. And then going from the sides of the nose down to your chin along your laugh lines. And then take your fingers right underneath and behind your ears. There's a little soft spot and a bony spot up above those soft spots. And if you lift your spine up from that point, you get this really nice lift to all of the backbones. A place that hopefully helps to relax the neck as you lift your head up into the air. Try to keep that lift as you rest your hands down in your lap. Breaths to check in with this body that you've brought to the mat today, brought to your space. There's another saying that my teachers have said for a long time. It's like, you know, you don't need to do yoga every day. but when you need it, you'll wish you had done it every day. Or at the very least, every Sunday for us. We begin with Om. You are, of course, free to death metal growl or just scream into the abyss or not make a sound at all. So, let's start with a big breath in through the nose. Big breath out through your mouth. Again, like that. For 3 Om. A lot of the work that we're going to be doing today is to release the back side of the body. The back side of your body is this long chain of connective tissue, and it goes from about the front of your skull or your forehead all the way down the body onto the soles of your feet. Take a moment to start that relaxation by imagining your eyeballs fell back in your skull a little bit. What if your eyeballs were to move a little bit more to the back of your head? What does that feel like? How does that change any of the feeling around your head or your neck? With anything at all, I don't know, that's really weird. It's a perfectly acceptable response to whenever you ask yourself these questions. Give yourself one more exhale. And start to blink your eyes open. We are going to get into the nitty-gritty to start off with here. If your knees are really tender coming down onto a hard surface, make sure that you have something squishy underneath your knees. You can do this, or sometimes having more of like the shins squishy so that the knees are just kind of out in the air. Go ahead and do that if you prefer. Or you're gonna come onto your knees, you're gonna curl your toes under, and then you're gonna press your hips back towards your feet. Now, depending on how much you're able to press your hips back, depending on how the body is responding to this, you might just kind of stop here, maybe take a break, and then go back. So that's one option. Another option is to walk your hands back and then bring your hands into your heart. Now, the tendency in broken toe pose is to resist it. It's like nobody's favorite pose. We'll just stay here for a little bit and then we'll be done with it. But if you are able to, try to settle into and stop resisting. Can you let, like your eyeballs were resting into the back of your skull, can you let your body rest into that back space? Oh my gosh. Okay, about 2 more breaths, whatever of these variations you've chosen. 1 more breath. Whew. And then go ahead and come forward. Untuck your toes, get a little drum roll to get the blood pumping back there. And then take one leg and extend it behind you. I'm gonna take the left one because that will help me to face you later. Leave your toes on the floor. You're gonna press your heel back and stretch out through your calf. Your wrists are tender. Come up on the fingertips. And feel the weight in the body moving back into that heel. One more breath in. Big breath out. Now, the foot that's on, or the leg that's on the ground. So my right foot here, I'm going to turn it away so that as I open left arm, I'm leg here, arms lifted and long. Now take that top arm up and over your nose, so you get a really big side stretch. And then relax your shoulder blade forward a little bit. One more exhale. Now you're gonna start to lift yourself up. So you're gonna take your torso up on top of that bottom leg. This extended leg, can you turn your toes to face up? And then you're gonna leave your left hand on your left hip, reach the right arm up and over. Oh goodness. Down. Sometimes there's a resistance to all of this feeling, right? Can you relax it instead of resist it? Can you relax that hip down? Maybe you're able to reach over a little bit more. One more exhale. Lift yourself up. You're going to come all the way back into table pose. Shift side to side in your hips. And then the other leg is going to go back, extend toes behind you on the floor, heel goes back, calf stretches. Pressing the weight into the back. Straight back through that heel. One more breath out. And then you're going to turn left toes out to the left, and then you can release the right heel down, take the right arm up, and then take it up and over your nose. I like to think nose instead of ear, because if it's behind the ear, you're kind of squeezing behind that shoulder blade. If it's above the nose, then you feel a little bit more side stretch than squeezing. For bonus, release that shoulder blade forward. Top on. Big breath in. Big breath out. Now you're going to lift yourself up so your torso is right up above that supporting leg. The extended leg, you're going to lift those toes up. As you do that, as we do all of this stuff, your hip's going to want to try to lift up and resist, right? Just start having that conversation with the hip that it can relax downwards. Right hand on the hip, left arm goes up and over. Maybe you can relax that top shoulder blade in this side stretch too. One more breath in. Big breath out. And come on up. You're going to unwind yourself and come back into table pose. Now, if you have that object around a block or your makeshift block, you're going to take it and put it underneath your left hand and then bring your right foot forward. It's going to go about to where your right hand was, and then your right hand is going to go up into the sky. Try not to have just a hand going up into the sky. Can you really turn the shoulder up to your hand so you're revolving? And then soften your belly every time you exhale. That might help you to twist just a little bit deeper. Now that right hip that might be kind of lifting up, you rest it back towards your back foot. One more exhale. And take both hands down. Bring your hands on the inside of your leg. You can take both hands onto this object that you have. You can take your hands down onto the floor if you've got the space for it. You can stay here or start to curl the back toes under and lift that back knee up and off of the floor. Now that right hip, pull that right hip towards the back foot. And then can you press back through that heel, just like when you were doing the calf stretch earlier, but it's not really as much of a calf stretch so much as it is just making the leg really strong. One more breath in. Exhale. If you had the knee up, slowly lower it down, nice and gentle, and then slide your right leg back. Bring the block underneath your right hand, and the left foot comes forward. And that might have needed some manual adjustment with that foot. fine. You do what you need to do to get yourself up here. And then you're going to stretch from your heart right up through your left fingertips. The hip has a tendency to kind of roll outwards here. Can you pull it back in? We want to try to keep these hips drawn into the center so that we're able to rotate the spine a little bit more. So drag that left hip back towards the right foot. One more round of breath. And then go ahead and take both hands down. You're going to bring them on the inside of your leg. You might take both hands onto whatever it is that you're using to make your arm longer. You might stay down here. That's a lot of stretch, or that leg lifted up is a bit intense for you. Don't worry about lifting the leg, or do lift the back leg. Now, if you lift the leg, don't let yourself sit into this hip. You're going to still pull the hip towards the back foot. Reach that heel back behind you. Two strong legs. One more breath. Gently lower that right knee down. Go ahead and pull yourself back in a table pose. And then we're going to, what's next? Oh, this whole next sequence. Oh, good. Then you're going to take your feet and step them outside of your hands. So we're going to come into a squat. Right? Your squat might be here. Yes, but my hips are mostly in line with my knees. You also might take your hips lower towards the ground. Now, if you try one of those and they feel terrible, then great, you found something that doesn't work well for the other one. If you do have your hips all the way down here, we're going to push into the pinky toe edges of your feet and think of your upper butt relaxing down. If you have your hips up higher, can you still push into the pinky toe edges of your feet and then think of your upper butt releasing back? Your upper butt is exactly where you think it is. One more exhale. And then with or without your hands, with or without fanciness, you're going to eventually come to sitting with your toes out in front of you, your knees up. Go ahead and hold on to those legs. So again, didn't need to be fancy. You'll find yourself down here and start to lift your heart up towards your thighs. You can keep your toes down on the ground, or maybe you hold onto the backs of the thighs and lift the legs up. For fun, we're going to try to extend one leg at a time without dropping the heart back. I know that's what my body really wants to do there. You lift your heart up to your toes, and then bend the leg, and then try the other side. Lift the heart up to your toes, and then the leg. You can decide to put the feet down. Maybe you don't hold your legs, and you extend a leg and bend it. And remember that breathing thing that we're doing is so incredibly helpful to keep us alive and stuff. One more time each side, unless you've decided you've had enough and you get to do that because it's your practice. And then come onto your back. Give yourself a hug. Good job. Rock around a little bit, massage your back. Roll over onto one side. Maybe you just roll over to the side that faces me. I won't talk about right and left. We'll just go top side and bottom side, yeah? So on your bottom side, can you make yourself one really straight line? So you want to not be folded back in your hips. You want to be open here, and then your bottom arm, you're going to wiggle it out as long as you can so you've got this big stretch on the side of your armpit. Now relax your head. On this top leg, you're going to slide it up into a fallen tree pose. Almost always, you don't want to have, you don't want to have your foot on your knee. Here it's okay, because I don't want you to push your foot into your leg. Don't worry about that. It shouldn't cause any pressure on your knee here. When we're standing, don't put that foot on the knee. It's either above or below. We're going to think of this top knee. reach that top knee out into the air. Now, as you do that, you might notice this hip space changes. It opens up the front of the hips. If you lengthen that knee out, we'll use that a little bit later. For fun, see if you can take that other hand off the floor and maybe you fall over, maybe you don't. I don't know, all of a sudden I got balance. Now, you can bend your bottom leg a little bit just to give yourself the opportunity to take this a little bit further. You're going to reach back and hold behind your top knee, or take your two peace fingers together and wrap them around your big toe. Again, if you did one of these and it was a terrible idea, do the other one. Now, it's up to you. If you want to leave the bottom leg bent, it's going to be a lot easier to balance. If you want to make things much more interesting, try to straighten that bottom leg. No matter what you're holding on the top leg, and you release the top hip down towards your bottom foot. And then, if it is interesting to you, start to extend that leg. And it doesn't have to get straight. Maybe you're still just holding back here and you just kind of let that foot open up a little bit. Great. You can still release the hip down towards your bottom foot. One more exhale. And release the leg. Roll around towards bellies for a moment. Take a pillow for your head with your hands, rest a forehead or a cheek. Go ahead and wiggle your hips around as much as you need. Just notice the difference from side to side. That's a lot of hip stuff. One more exhale. I'm going to roll over to the other side. I'm going to get up and switch to the two, not face you, but do whatever you need. And then lay down on the other side. On your bottom arm, you're going to wiggle that out a bunch. Make sure you're not in a pike. You're as long as you can be. And then you're going to slide that top foot up into a fallen tree. And you're already on the floor, so you can fall over and you'll be good. On this top knee, if you pull the thigh bone into the hip socket, it folds the front of your hip. If you lengthen the thigh bone out of the hip socket, it opens the front of it. Use that later. For now, we're just trying to find breath in weird places. And it's helpful to breathe in weird places off of our mat, like 2020. And then relax that bottom leg so that you can take hold of your top leg. So you might hold behind the knee, or you might take your peace fingers around your toe. And you can extend the bottom leg or not. Oh my gosh, why can't I balance on this one? Can you release? Oh my God. Can you release your top hip down towards that bottom foot? A little bit different, right? It kind of releases the back of the torso, gives you a little bit more space. Then maybe you extend the leg, maybe you kind of think about extending the leg. Whatever you get to is fine. Torture yourself, don't pull anything, just see where you can go. Right, one more breath. And then release over onto your belly again. Take a pillow for your head with your hands wrapped. And then slide the hands in just behind the shoulders, so a little bit further back on the body and the shoulders. You're going to come into really, really low cobras. Just think of sending the heart forward, shoulders pull back, take a breath in, and exhale, soft. Inhale, just up a little bit. Exhale, soften down. More warming up the spine than anything else. Yeah. if you push down with the tops of the feet, it might let you lift up a little bit higher, but still don't go wild with it. You don't need to get up all the way. You always want to think traveling like a cobra pose, not, I call this, I got bit by a cobra pose, right? It's about as fun as it looks. 2 more. And then push yourself up onto your hands and knees. Spread your fingertips out. Spread your fingertips out and then push down into your hands so your heart floats up towards you. You want to keep that kind of strength in your arms. Maybe try to wrap your elbows back towards your thighs. You're going to curl the toes, come up into downward dog for just a beat. And then look forward and see if you can bring your feet to the outsides of your hands. You could jump if you have that practice, or take your feet and step them up. We're going to go back to that squat. So it might be here. It might be down here. Can you push into the pinky toe edges of your feet? Can you drop your upper butt down or back, depending on where it should be going? Okay. Next thing we're going to do is stand up. It sounds insane to you to stand up all the way from here in one movement. Honor your body, stand up in pieces. It doesn't need to be fancy. But if you want to play around a little bit, what you might do is start pushing your feet down to the floor until you rock it all the way up. And then release your arms down. Good stuff, bring your feet in. So we're going to take Warrior 1. When we come into Warrior 1, just make sure that you haven't crossed your legs over. You want to have this space, not this space. Yeah? We'll go 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. I don't care which one it is, you get to pick. Try to square your hips forward. It won't be perfect, it doesn't matter. You're going to challenge this front lunge, trying to get your knee over your ankle. And then tuck your hip of the front leg towards the back foot. Now reach your arms up, interlace your fingers, and press your palms up to the ceiling. They might be out in front of you a bit. That could be way more comfortable in your shoulders. As much as you're pressing your hands up, can you drop that front hip down and back? Breath in. One more breath out. Release the arms. If you need to take a break with the legs straight for a moment, go ahead. You're going to take the hands behind you, interlace the fingers, or hold hands on your hips. If the interlacing of the fingers doesn't work for you, just hold on to your hips. You're going to take the heart forward on the inside of that front thigh, reaching the heart forward and sending that front hip back. Notice if you've tried to straighten the leg, can you keep the knee above the ankle? One more breath out. Draw your belly in, lift yourself up. And you're going to bring your hands to your heart. Take the back foot, hop it up a little bit. Now see if you can come forward into a nice light chair pose. So not super deep, kind of like a baby chair pose. Hips are behind you, knees are back. And then a couple more times, tap that same leg back and in. Okay. Your upper butt burns a little bit. One more time, bring both feet up, sit your hips back a little bit more, and straighten your legs, lift up. Reach up tall for your fingertips. And then hands down. The tapping back and forth is not just to torture you, it's to help build up this upper butt strength because it's a really big stabilizer. It's good stuff just to keep the body in good working order to have a strong bum. So let's go for the other side, Warrior 1. Front toes forward, back toes in slightly, knee above the ankle. Let's take those arms up. Interlace your fingers, press your palms up or slightly in front of you. That might be better in your shoulders. You get to choose. Always experiment. Maybe one side feels a little bit different. Can you release this front leg? That hip goes back to the back foot. Equal energy out through your palms and down and back through that front hip. One more breath in. Big breath out. Release your arms. If you need to straighten the front leg for a moment, give yourself a break. Go ahead and do that. Hands behind your back or hands to your hips. If the hands are at your hips, you still have to leave at the heart. You can't like crunch in like this, right? Give yourself this open chest space and take it forward on the inside of your front thigh. Now, can you keep the knee over the ankle and the hip going towards the back foot? Ooh. Breathing. A good breather. To be more centered, more able to bring up this breath when we need it. One more breath out. Draw your belly and lift yourself up. And bring your hands to your heart. You're going to hop the back foot in a little bit. It's going to give you a little bit of a boost getting up here into that shallow chair pose, not super deep. Go ahead and tap it up. Bring your feet towards each other. And then a couple times tap it back and forward. Chest open, your breath steady. 2 more. Keep your feet down. Get those hips back a little bit more. Straighten the legs, reach up, stretch out through your fingertips. And bring your hands down. Grab your block, your item, whatever it was that you happen to have around. Where I put it. Okay. I'm going to mirror you. I'm going to do mirroring you on the right side. You're going to put the block on the inside of your right foot. Right toes face all the way over, left toes face in slightly. You're going to come into warrior 2. And in warrior 2, I'm going to think of this hip. Guessed it, pulling towards that back foot. That already started to send your spine over like this, right? Good. Let's come into side angle. So you're going to reach this arm over. You're going to relax the shoulder blade forward and keep pulling this hip towards that back foot. If this is already a lot for you, feel like you should stay here, please do so. If you want to go a little bit deeper, what you might do is take your hand down onto this item, this block. You can even set the block on a lower setting, but you're not going here, right? You're still pulling that thigh bone towards the back foot. One more exhale. Now, here's where things are going to get funky. You're going to take the left hand down to that block. You might put this back knee down on the ground. You might just spiral a heel up in the sky. Keep pulling the front hip towards the back foot. You can look over towards the right. I've got my elbow on my knee here. It's a little bit more stable. Or if you're feeling a little bit more frisky, you might reach that right arm up into there. And you pull your front hip towards that back foot. Extra fancy business, if you're into it, is to reach that arm up and over your nose. Now soften your belly in this twist. One more exhale. And then start to come out of it. You're going to go ahead and stand yourself up. Take that block with you. That back knee on the ground, it did offer that. You might want to go there just to make sure that it's not quite so intense or precariously balanced if that's where your body is right now. There's tons of modifications for this stuff. Okay, we're going to switch towards the other side. Left toes all the way over, right toes in slightly. And then bend that leg, put a block on the inside of the foot. Warrior 2. From here, feel that thigh bone pulling back. We're just going to start to tilt the pelvis, right? We said if the thigh bone comes into the pelvis tilts forward. Come here, over. If it seems like a good idea to you, try to come down to that block. Notice the tendency of the hips to drift back. And you be conscious and attentive to bring that hip back towards the back foot. One more round of breath. Then you're gonna take your right hand down. It's gonna come down to that block, that object. You could set it higher. You're gonna either take the back knee down or just lift the heel up so you keep that back knee up. Now I can take my hand onto my thigh here. I'll leave it there for a little bit more connection as I revolve in my spine and my soft belly, pulling that hip back. Maybe the arm goes up. Maybe the arm goes up and over, which is like harder to twist this way. So many more levels added onto this. Make yours. One more exhale. And you're going to come out of that twist. Go ahead and come out to wide legs. You're going to take this item again. We're going to go back over towards the right side. So turn your right toes over. You're going to take your left foot, hop it out of it. So now you have more of that warrior one kind of lift stance in your body. You're going to take this block, this item down. You're going to bring it underneath your shoulder. Many of us are going to have to bend this leg. That's okay. Try to have a straighter leg if you can. Maybe you're on fingertips instead. You can bend this leg here, it's okay. Now, but I do want you to try to bring this hip towards that back foot. Let's all start with right hand on the hip and then start looking over towards the right, turning your heart to the right. Revolve triangle is really, really hard. There's a lot going on here. Can you balance the energy in your pelvis? Is that weird thing? What does that feel like in your body? What does that feel? Balancing the pelvis. You notice you're leaning over to one side or the other more. What would it be like if you balance it? Maybe your right arm opens up. Notice I'm not at 6 o'clock here. It's like 1:30 or something. One more exhale. Take your hand back to your hip. Try to lift your belly up to come on up. A bit more of that. Strengthen the center. We're going to switch to the other side. So take those toes over. You're going to hop that right foot out. That way you've got the hips in such a way where they can hopefully get mostly forward here. And then you're going to take that block down underneath your right hand. You're going to start guiding your front hip towards the back foot. Maybe with your hand here, you still start thinking, what is a balanced pelvis? That's like the weirdest thing you've ever thought about it. Of course my pelvis is balanced. I've got the same thing on both sides. What on earth are you talking about? I don't know. Can you draw the front hip back? Twist on the soft belly. Rotating the heart over towards the left. Try not to fall into your bottom shoulder. You want to keep out of the joint. Maybe the top arm lifts up. Oh man, I'm like way close to the 6 o'clock here. Bodies are so weird. Soft belly. Like tight hamstring too. One more exhale. Come out of it. Lift your belly up to stand all the way up. Excellent. We're going to go ahead and bring the feet towards each other. Whatever you had that you were using, go ahead and set it off to your side. We're going to do warrior 3. Kind of a quick visit. You do not have to be parallel to the ground. You can have a warrior 3 that's more of this like incline, okay? Don't feel like you have to get squared down towards the floor, and you can even like grab the wall so that you're not trying so hard to balance. One thing about hip alignment like this, yeah? So pick a leg. You're gonna stand on that leg, then get taller on that leg, and the other leg's gonna reach back behind you. Now, as you reach back, you might stop here, you might stop with toes on the floor. Maybe you come all the way down, parallel with the floor. The hip that you are standing on is probably gliding out to the side, right? Can you reach it towards that back foot? You unclench your jaw. Exhale. And lift yourself up. Other side, kind of a quick visit. We got another standing balance to do. So take the other leg back, lift up taller on this standing leg, and then you're going to send the heart forward as the leg goes back. This hip is going to tend to kind of glide out to the side. That's how this one lifts up. Can you keep them squared, pulling this hip towards the back foot? All over 3 times. It's great. Just get up 4 times. Not. Exhale. Stand up. Side of foot down. Wiggle things out a little bit. Okay. We did fallen tree pose. And we've talked a couple of times about how if you lengthen the knee out of the hip socket, it's going to open the front of your hips. That's also going to help to lift up your abdominals. So that'll bring a little bit more core integration, maybe a little bit better balance here. You need to get your foot off of the floor in order to feel this. So if you cannot easily keep your foot at your calf, I want you to grab this and put it on the inside of your foot. Got magic. Like magic. See if it's going to be here. It might go up to your thigh. It's not going to be on your knee though, right? And now this knee, lengthen it out of your hip socket. The thigh bone, lengthen it out of the hip socket. Lift here. Bring your hands somewhere that you like to have them for a tree pose, which could be like one hand over on the couch. Yeah. You lift up behind your ears. Wiggle a little bit, shake the sticky stuff out. We'll go towards the other side. So you're going to take that leg up. It's going to go to your calf. It's going to go on a block or what have you. It will not go on your knee. It might go to your thigh. It doesn't matter if it gets on there. Feel. In fact, okay, what happens if you put your thigh bone more in the pelvis? Do you feel that? How it tilts you forward and lets all of this strength go? Change that to lengthen the thigh out. Lift the front of the hips. Heart relax open. Keep breathing. Up behind the hips. One more exhale. And then take the foot up and put it down. Wiggle things out a little bit. Okay. We have done a lot of releasing of the back side of the body, not necessarily just so that we can pull forward, but also hopefully to create a little bit more flexibility in the back so that we can also move backwards and open up the heart. We're going to work towards upward facing dog in a moment. So we're going to do a little bit of work through the spine. I wanted to save it till later so we were a little bit warmer. Don't go too fast and pace. We don't do upward dog a lot, so this is not something that your body's super into. You just want to think of maybe like halfway to up dog. We'll get there in a moment. Go ahead and stand up by the front of your mat space. We're going to start with some half salutes to really warm up that side. So inhale, take your arms up, reach up tall. And then exhale, fold down. Bend your knees as much as you need to relax your back and relax your neck. Now take your fingertips to your shins. You're going to roll your shoulders back, send your heart forward, and then reach your upper butt back, your tailbone back. Exhale, soften again to that fold. Bring it all the way up. Breathe in, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands to heart. Do that again 2 more times. Inhale, reach up, lengthen the front side of the body. Exhale, fold down, relax the back. Inhale, halfway up, tailbone back, heart forward, lengthen that front side of the body. Exhale, fold, soften the back. Inhale, all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Last time, inhale, reach all the way up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, heart forward, shoulders back. Change it up a little bit this time though. Plant your hands down, step yourself back to downward facing dog. You can do table pose instead of downward dog if that seems like a better place for your body to be. We're just doing short visits in down dog. Armpits press down to the hands, heels relax towards the floor. Let out a nice loud sigh. And then lower your knees into table pose. You might pad up your knees here. You won't be here very long. Always choose things that support you. You can come onto fingertips if your wrists are cranky. We'll do a couple of cat and cow tail, breathe in, look up. Exhale, round your spine. Keep going with these, go slow. Take as long breaths as you can. See if you can really work into the fullest versions of these shapes. You might even pause for a moment if one of them feels like you're really getting something out of it. And move on when you're ready. In between these shapes. Finish up about 2 more rounds on your own. We're done. Back towards a more neutral spine. You're going to wiggle your knees back. Lay yourself all the way down. Wiggle your shoulders out a bit, making sure you got some space in the front of your chest. You're going to slide your hands back so they're in line more with your low or your middle ribs. And then you're going to pull the elbows back, send your heart forward. Your lower ribs right here probably working pretty hard to keep you up. So try to use your hands a little bit more and then think about that space relaxing right below your shoulder blades. Curl your toes under. You're going to lift your hips up a little bit. And then try to push down and slide forward towards up dog. That might look more like this. Go nice and slow. And then we're going to press it back. Child's pose. You do that 2 more times. Go ahead and crawl yourself forward onto your belly. You can even lower down if you want to do a little bit more arm strength. You're going to reach your toes back, elbows back, heart forward. Curl your toes under. And then lift your hips up a little bit so that you can inchworm yourself forward. Heart goes open and forward. And then pull back towards child's pose. One more like this. Come all the way forward onto your belly. You just crawl yourself forward or lower down with some control, pretending or hoping one day you have the control. And then cobra pose, heart goes forward, elbows go back. And you're going to curl the toes under. You're going to do a little lift to your hips. And then slide it forward. Upward dog, and then pull it back, child's pose. Put knees a little bit wider this time, toes towards each other. If your child's pose looks a lot more like this, and that's just the way that your knees and your hips bend, great. This is your child's pose. Find a place that you can rest. If your knees should not be bending right now, if they've already had enough of that, just go ahead and lay forward on your belly. Prop yourself up, lay face down, that's also great. That lower back space relaxing. The tailbone reaching back. One more exhale. Start to lift yourself up. We're going to come into pigeon pose. So you've got things around that you could use to prop yourself up. Sometimes I like to come in and place You're going to take right leg forward. Sometimes putting the block underneath your hip can help, or a pillow. I'll face forward so you can see this knee is out. I'm at this angle. My leg goes back. My hips are even. I'm not sitting over here. I'm not sitting over here. You might say to yourself, wow, this is the most obnoxious torture device I've ever seen. There's another option. You're going to instead come onto your back, knee on your ankle, look here. Yes. And hold on, or not. So you do you, pick something, pigeon or reclined pigeon. Have a block, maybe. And come forward. Relax your right thigh bone down. whichever of these two shapes that you're in, see if you can let some of that tension go. Using the breath to release. Far beyond pigeon pose. So something you need to practice. One more exhale. And then you're going to come up to a seat. So if you're on your front, you're going to sit over on the leg. Send the other one forward. If you're on your back, rock yourself up to a seat. You should be about here. You're going to have your right leg bent, your left leg out in front of you. We're going to come into a fold. And as we do so, a couple of things. Doesn't matter if your face is on your leg, not important at all. This thigh bone, I want you to try to draw the thigh bone into the pelvis. You're blocking my pelvis. Okay. If you draw the thigh bone into the pelvis, you see how it kind of like tilted me forward there? If you drop that knee down, it tilts the pelvis back. I'm exaggerating slightly because I'm wearing all black and holding a dog, but thigh bone in, it tilts your pelvis forward. Another thing that might help you tilt your pelvis forward is to prop it up with something. Now you're really going to come forward. Last thing here, all of this back space, is it getting wider and more relaxed, like your kidneys are kind of moving sideways. That might help too. However far you go, you breathe there. Stop. See what happens over time. More breaths. Start to lift yourself up. If you're sitting up on anything, you'll probably want to scooch out of the way. And then you're either going to go to reclined pigeon or pigeon on the other side. So you're going to roll onto your back, left ankle on right knee, or slide that right leg behind you. Make sure your left knee isn't facing forward, it's going out to that side. And then as you come down, you might grab that block, put it under your hip. Practicing this morning. And we're open. It works. The whole block underneath the hip thing, by the way, is not necessarily a crutch. It's not like, oh, I'm not so good at pigeon, so I had to put a block there. It's one of the tools that I can use to make my body have less resistance to these things, giving myself the opportunity to open up more. Hops are not a crutch. Opening us up and giving us more opportunity. I'll show a little bit more of that on the other side. One-legged forward fold. Relax this left hip back. That left bottom corner of your torso might have just a little bit more space. One more breath in. Now start to lift yourself up. We're going to come into that one-legged fold again. What you might do is take that pillow and kind of put it underneath your hip. That is going to help you tilt your hip. I'm just doing this. Especially if I'm going to show you this other block thing. So, this knee, instead of trying to press it down the floor, which takes it out of my hip socket and lifts the front of the hips, which is inhibiting my fold, I'm going to slide the thigh bones into the hip socket, which sends my pelvis forward and releasing it. Some of us have really long arms, or we're like folded in half literally, so you may have a little bit more space. What I like to do is actually take a block to increase the stretch. Not like, oh, I need blocks because I'm inflexible. I need blocks because I'm so where do you feel tension? practice that control over your reaction to your experience. Breathe, not to be with breathers. Be ready for those points we find ourselves short of breath. More breaths. And start to take yourself out of this twist. Out of this hole. Twist. Go ahead and take whatever it was that was underneath you out of the way. I'm show on this side. You're just going to take one leg, reach down in front of you. Slide the other leg back. And you're going to twist over this leg. So on me, my left leg is long that way, my right leg is long that way, and I'm twisting my heart down towards it. Many of us will be here. Some of us will be here. Some of us will be down here. Don't worry about keeping your hips balanced or square. Soften your belly. Really big outer hip stretch here. Maybe you can get both ribs facing a little bit more down towards the floor. Maybe you don't. Doesn't matter. One more breath. Now relax that bottom leg. Be a little easier for you to get up. And then we'll go to the other side. I'm just going to flip over. I'll hit the wall. So other leg is out. Extend my leg back. And you're going to turn as much as you can. Your ribs down towards the floor. You're here. You're here. You're here. Every time you exhale, let your belly get softer. Take a little bit more space to rotate around. More breath. Bend that bottom leg is a little easier to sit up. And you're going to bring the soles of your feet together. You might grab this and bring it underneath your hip. It's going to give you a little bit more boost, a little bit more squishy space on the hip. More room to come forward. Draw your heart forward towards your feet. Relax the back of your neck. And as you come into this bound angle, as you fold inwards into your body, I want you to relax those bottom corners of your torso. Think of the kidneys getting wider and squishier. Notice where the tension is. Give it permission to let go. More breaths. Soften with your exhale. And then lift yourself up. I'm going to take your hands back behind you. Now roll your collarbones more open. Feel your heart pressing out towards the front of your rib cage. Maybe you do start to press your heart forward in your rib cage. You can even look upwards. And you broaden those collarbones. Really send the chest forward. One more breath in. And soften. And exhale. We're going to come onto our backs. Resist the urge to bring your knees into your chest. Then lay ourselves down. Feet tuck in, close towards the heels, toes forward. A couple of inches in between both the feet and the knees because the knees are on top of the heels. your arms down by your sides. Wiggle your shoulder blades underneath your heart. So you have a little bit more room in the front of your chest. If you have a mat, try to slide your 4 fingers underneath the mat with the thumbs on top, and then pull the mat apart like you're gonna split it open, but you don't. And you'll start to feel how your heart pulls apart, right? So this chest starts to open, maybe it starts to lift. This could be useful to you in bridge pose, which is where we're going. Maybe you just press your hands down onto the floor and have a similar feeling if you don't have the mat, or if you prefer pressing the hands down into the floor. We're gonna press down into the feet, lift the hips up, go about halfway. Now wiggle those shoulder blades in a little bit more so you have more of this boost to your heart, up into the front of your rib cage. Push down into all 4 corners of the feet. Try to relax your glutes a little bit and use more of the underbutt rather than the butt. So this, not so much this. That might let you bend a little bit more into this heart opener back. Now maybe you pull the mat apart, maybe you press your hands down. Use your underbutt less than your butt. One more breath in. Relax your shoulders, relax your grip, relax your hips down. Remember to let your back relax, gravity. Bring your knees into your chest. Yourself a little rock around, massaging that lower back space again. You're gonna roll your legs over to one side. Open your arms out in a way that's comfortable to you. And take your top leg and extend it out. You can take your hand and catch this ankle. That might feel really nice. If you have that Tibetan weaponry practice we've been working on, where you kind of reach up, grab that foot, split yourself apart, go for it. I'm not really thinking that's one of the best places to go, but if that's where your body is asking for you to go, then go for it. Really want to just release this outer thigh line. Go ahead and support your leg with your hand. And you soften your belly in, rolling the ribs back towards the floor. You're not going to touch. Okay. One more round of breath. Relax that top leg. Draw it in. We're going to roll over towards the other side. And then extend your top leg out. Go ahead and hold on to it. Soften your belly. Release this outer thigh line. Roll these ribs in the direction of the floor. They're not going to reach the spine. Every exhale, let your belly get softer. One more breath. Release this leg, draw your knees in, and then come back to the center. Spread out into kind of an X shape here. Think of kind of a narrow X, maybe only about as wide as your mat would be. Now take your right ankle, go ahead and put it on the left ankle, so it kind of crosses over the body. And then reach your right hand over to your left hand, hold your right wrist with your left hand, and give it a little gentle traction out of the shoulder. Maybe you slide your right ankle down the front of the left ankle, getting a little bit more stretch on that side. Relax your inner right armpit. One more exhale. Unwind yourself and back up to that kind of narrow X. And then slide the left ankle on top of the right ankle. Reach the left arm over to the right and then hold the left wrist. Gentle traction, softening the inner armpit. Maybe you feel that left ankle thinking about or actually sliding out further on top of that right ankle. Tadasana. One more round of breath. Release. Back out into that X. When you take your next inhale, see how full you can make yourself, how expansive you can make the body, how much breath you can take in. Feel that fullness. And then exhale, let it go. Feel the softening and the release. That 2 more times. Fill up. And release. This time, really fill up. And even more like, just melt down. And if there's another pose, if there's anything that you like to do to finish off your practice, by all means go there. If you're ready for your final rest, we'll start to move there. Maybe your arms slide down by your sides. If you're feeling any lower back tension, constructive rest where the feet are a little wide and knees long against each other, that can be really supportive. You're welcome to take a seated meditation, pop up and hang out in the chair for a minute if that's a little bit easier on your body. Take a place and rest. Practice rest. I forget, my mother started like really getting into yoga, and she was like, yeah, I just hold Shavasana for like 5 minutes, and I'm pretty sure that's all that I need, but I'm ready to get on with my day. I'm like, no, Mom, I think that means you should spend like 20 minutes in Shavasana. So we won't do quite that, but more than 5 breaths. Enjoy. times of crisis, we summon up our strength. In times of crisis of the spirit, we are aware of all our need for each other and our need for ourselves. We call up with all the strength of summoning we have, our fullness, and then we turn, for it is a turning that we have prepared
to wait.
And act.
Very well.
As Muriel Russmere.
Brittany,
Is a civil rights activist.
who are you beneath your mask?
Is my costume such a disguise that you don't recognize me?
Once you start to come back into consciousness, just feeling your breath and your body.
Tony Nelly, that's who you are. Nelly, you
Feeling that we can bring this skill of softness, of breath,
You are not
to
there.
words
No.
with us for the rest of the day,
Doctor dances
days
white,
ahead, the weeks, the years,
but I pass to close life.
cultivating this skill of connection.
Truly prosper.
You're still laying on your back, roll over to one side, pausing for a moment,
So you've come.
turning inwards in gratitude for your practice and the opportunity to gather together this way.
On your knees. On your
When you're ready, come up to your own version of a comfortable seat. It doesn't need to look like my seat, sit however you like. Lay up against the wall or the couch.
I would like to see you.
If your seat allows, bring your hands up to your
There
heart.
is no face of death.
Feel the backs of your
Until the
ears
moment
floating up towards the
of your
spine,
own
lengthening your
death.
spine.
And I am only one of many messengers.
You still practice releasing one more om together. Big breath in.
All
Not all.
I knew it. I've won.
Time of unmasking. They begin to show their naked faces.
Going down to the love inside of our hearts, to the light and the darkness within each of us. Namaste. Thanks, friends. Any questions about anything, let me know.
Thank you, April. That was great.
Great,
Yep.
thanks. I'll put it up in the YouTube channel soon. Thank you so much, everybody who sent something. I appreciate
Yes,
it.
thank you. Really missed it last week.
Well, we're all together again. I got the whole event set up for all of next year, so we will have lots more time. And one more yoga for 2020. Yay! We just like 2020 is almost over.
Right.
Yay!
Exactly.
Right. Oh my gosh. Crazy life. Okay. Great days.
Yeah. I just have one quick question. So when we, when we have the leg, one leg in front of us, one leg bent, and we're doing the fold over the leg.
Like this.
Should the knee be facing up with the foot, or is it okay to twist the knee to the side? So how is the leg position supposed to be?
With this one or this one?
Oh, okay. So facing,
This extended leg, you want the knee to be facing up. This leg,
okay.
There's this old 90s cue where they're like, grind your knee down to the ground. But what that does is it takes the thigh bone out of the hip socket, and you should be able to feel it. If you try to push that knee down, you can feel the front of your hips lifting up, which is inhibiting a fold.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, if I let this thigh bone pull in, and so it's just kind of floating up there. If the thigh bone pulls in, it'll bring your hips forward. It's not wrong to do it this way. It's just often harder to fold if I'm slamming that knee down rather than letting that thigh bone kind of pull in. doesn't make any more sense.
Yeah, thanks.
It was nice meeting all of you.
Thanks, Damien.
Yep.
Awesome, the crew. And Paul, too. Alright.
All right, have a good Sunday.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody. Have good days.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.